Hanging Out with Clement
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Time for our Hanging Out feature, and I'm broadcasting from Cape Town this morning, so I'm glad to have a colleague from here in Cape Town joining us for our Hanging Out feature. Lester Kiewit, who's the host of Good Morning Cape Town on Cape Talk. And I said to you earlier on when I was telling you he'll be coming through, he is an incredible journalist. He's a brilliant mind. He's a wordsmith, incredible wit. And I can't wait for us to get to know him better this hour. You're welcome to join this conversation if you like, or maybe you've got a question for him. You can call on 011-883-0702 or send a WhatsApp on 072-702-1702. Lester, welcome to the show in your building.
They call me a cunning linguist.
A cunning linguist, actually. That's the best way to describe it. But you are. Like, the things you come up with are so smart.
So I discovered firstly, welcome to the building. Welcome to Cape Town.
Yes.
We didn't bring any minstrels here to sing and dance for you, but next time.
I've got wonderful coffee here, so that will do.
I discovered, and people say, Lester, you have the gift of the gab, or you think of what people think is interesting.
Yeah.
I say, I learnt from not an early age, but when you start adopting your adult form, I realized, and let me just say, everything that I've done up until the point I met who would later become my wife has been to get girls.
What?
So I realized that when I was adopting my adult form, this is like 18 years old, and I realized I wasn't going to get slimmer, I wasn't going to get more handsome. Let's try and be more interesting.
Yeah.
Try and be more interesting and try and be funny.
Yeah.
And try and be serious, but also try and be funny. And my schooling life was not necessarily in academics. I wasn't the most brightest academic.
But you were bright.
Precocious, maybe. But I threw myself into non-academic participation in school. Student leadership, SRC. I was a SRC chairperson. I could write a turn of phrase which would then encourage fellow students to vote for me for SRC. But I was involved in a lot of debate and a lot of drama and theatre at school. I actually believe many broadcasters in South Africa are actually starving performers. They actually want.
I was about to say that many broadcasters I know and I've spoken to have done exactly what you've just explained, like either part of drama, debate, and then SRC. Yeah. I remember because I was also I was in the SRC, I was the deputy president. And the only reason I was the deputy president is because, in fact, I was voted president. I chose to be deputy so that there's a woman who is a friend of mine who can be the president. So I was
and that's leadership.
Progressive from then already. Wow. So then but I remember we used to go from class to class to motivate people to vote for us. So you had to write a really good speech. You really had to convince people to vote for you, and they did. So it's fascinating. A lot of broadcasters have gone through that. So thank you so much for being here. I really, 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 really appreciate it. I want to know, Lester, where your career begins. Like, did you know when you were young that I want to tell stories, I want to be a journalist, I want to be a broadcaster?
I'm one of those lucky people who, from a very early age, knew what I wanted to do. And I'll tell you the story. And we all wanted to be early childhood. The policeman, the doctor,
the nurse,
yes. But at 6 years old, this was in 91, walking home from school.
1 year old, okay.
I was 6 at that time. And I come back from school, was grade 1, sub A. It was also the year in which CNN started broadcasting on SABC at the time.
CNN was on SABC?
CNN was on SABC in that early 90s period.
What?
And I walk into my grandmother's house after school. and on TV is the broadcasting of the first Iraq invasion, the first Gulf War. And on screen was a CNN anchor called Bernard Shaw. What drew me to this man? He was a dark-skinned, fluffy-haired man with a moustache, and he looked like an uncle of mine.
Yeah.
And I was fascinated by this man who looked like my uncle, but with an American accent.
Yeah.
And more, I started. Okay, this channel isn't about this man called Bernard Shaw.
Yeah.
This channel is about what's happening in another country, a country that before that I didn't know existed.
Yeah.
And I just watched a lot of CNN from a very, very.
You were
early.
6.
I was 6.
Are you kidding me?
And then I then understand what reporting is. I understand what a correspondent is. And it was largely because I was exposed to a global event on television at 6 years old. And then all of a sudden, you start seeing more and more examples. I was then in Standard 7, which was grade 9. And there was a career day at my high school. And this journalism thing was still in my mind. I just didn't know how to get there. And two stalwarts of Cape Town journalism, Zubaydah Jaffa and Mansour Jaffa, old girls and boys of my high school. I stepped into the class in which they are conducting their session on this is a career in journalism. I then hang around, and this has always been, I'll explain later of why I always hang around, always stay behind after everyone has left. And then I start a conversation with him, and Mansour says he was then a deputy editor at community newspapers that was then in the Independent stable. And in Standard 7, grade 9, he says, come spend a week by me. And that then just starts the ball rolling for what I would eventually study, would eventually then become my profession as a journalist.
So what would you say you've enjoyed the most? Print, radio, you've done television. I mean, how long were you at ENCA as a parliamentary reporter?
I was at ENCA for 11 years.
Oh my goodness.
So I start my career not in this building, but with this company, with Cape Talk.
Eyewitness News.
2004 is when I start at our Bree Street offices. I then spent 4 years at Eyewitness News. In fact, I met Mandy Wiener, probably my first, journalistic friend.
Yeah.
We started in that same period, and Mandy came down to Cape Town for a bit, and we start our friendship then. And I was there for 4 years. At that time, I heard this thing of a 24-hour news channel being started. In this business, you don't have interviews.
Yes.
I've never had an interview.
I've never gone for
Never
a
had
job.
an interview.
I've never had an interview.
I've had one interview, and it was 12 people around the same table vying for the same job. It was like Survivor.
Okay,
That was my job for my internship at Eyewitness News. And we were 12 students from the then Pentec.
Yeah.
And they called us in, and then again,
They ask you about current affairs questions?
current affairs. And then you start seeing who is around the table and who do you have. It's a tribal council. It's a Survivor. So you start being very political. And my good friend Lance Witten is now with Independent newspapers. I then reckon it's between me and Lance now. Diane Walker, Diane Walker. Diane Walker was in that same meeting. I know Diane, I love her, but
Like, nah, she's not getting it.
it's between me and Lance. I was later then informed it was between myself, Lance, and Diane.
Yeah.
But again, I stayed behind. I waited till everyone, and I slowly packed my satchel. Gosh, I belabored that movement of packing my satchel and folding my pages. And on exit, I made an attempt to shake everyone's hand in that room that I didn't know. And apparently that's what got me the job.
Who taught you that trick?
And I've always had a knack of sussing out my immediate environment. Who is talking to who's not saying much, who is listening here. And I've always had a little bit of a knack of determining who actually holds the power here.
Yeah.
Who is actually in charge.
Yeah. 18 minutes after 10 o'clock, we're hanging out with Lester Kiewit. We'll be taking your calls, your WhatsApps as well. If you've got something to say to Lester, I got a message earlier from Tsidi in Cape Town who says, Clement, Lester is probably the funniest dude I know in South Africa. Tsidi, absolutely. So you've got some songs that you've sent us. A fascinating song choice. Where should we begin? Should we start with Abdullah Ibrahim?
A little bit of Abdullah Ibrahim, yeah. Joan, Cape Town Flower. It's 9 minutes, so we don't have to play the entire thing. But Abdullah Ibrahim is my musical hero from a very young age. I grew up in a family, and a broader family, where jazz was very much, like many households, jazz was very much the Sunday thing. And I remember when CDs were still new, and Township One More Time. It was the first album of Abdullah Ibrahim that I heard. Manenberg, of course, played a bit in our households. But I met Ibrahim. I've grown to develop a little bit of a relationship with Abdullah Ibrahim. But the first time I met him, walking down Plain Street, that's the road in which Parliament is in, and I was probably in first year. I think I bunked journalism class that day, and I was walking through through Cape Town, which I loved doing, and it was a cold and rainy day, and a man with a turned up jacket, the collar was turned up, and I walk and I immediately see, this is Abdullah Ibrahim, and I walk as close to him as possible, and
was he walking alone?
He was walking alone, and I say, Mr. Ibrahim, the man grunts. He literally went, And so that was my first interaction with Abdullah Ibrahim personally. But the music has always affected me and has reflected my thoughts and my love for Cape Town.
Well, let's listen to Joan, Cape Town Flower. Oh, I don't want to come out. I don't want to come out, really. I keep saying to Lester, what a song. What a track. Isn't it crazy that music has an ability to invoke an emotion, even when, because it's easy when the lyrics are there, right?
Yeah.
When an artist writes about love or missing someone, but you can play an instrument and somehow it's...
Look, people say you're either a lyrics person or a music person. I'm a music person. I somewhat understand. I'm no way call myself a musician. I have some basic fundamental music tuition in me. It's that drama and performance and theater kid in me. But I definitely relate primarily to music, to tone, but then also the silences in between. I think that is my language.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Let's go to some WhatsApps on 072 702 1702.
Good morning, Clement, and good morning to Lester. Oh, what an incredible guy. Very, very, very funny and perspicuous and very informed. I met him last year when Prime Media was hosting government communicators. Although he was running slightly late for his flight, he still made time to talk to us and to get to know us. Really, really enjoyed meeting Lester. This is Brian in Pretoria. Good show as always. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you very much. Where was that? Government?
It was a government communicators function with our, I think it was our sales team, and they asked us to, we also trying to get paid here. We also.
I've done those too.
But I enjoy coming up to Johannesburg, and I particularly enjoy actually going up to Pretoria. I have some family who are in the national bureaucracy, and so and also it's the political brain of statehood and bureaucracy that also fascinates me. So whenever I meet someone from government, I like drilling down. Maybe you can also get some Sunday stories.
I must say, you are probably one of the few people who live in Cape Town who are like, oh, I do love coming to Joburg. I find Cape Town, how do I put this? So you guys are spoiled here. Like you've got the great views. you've got the great restaurants. So every time I speak to friends who live here and they come over to Joburg, they don't really like Joburg.
Don't get me wrong. I am deeply provincialistic.
Yeah.
It's Western Province,
Yeah.
and everything that's from Cape Town. I will fight you over that. But I also understand, and let's be honest, South Africa won't exist. The South Africa that we know without Joburg and Greater Gauteng.
Yeah.
Whether it be, it's something like for every 100 rand that's created in South Africa, 35 rand comes from Johannesburg. That's what Gauteng makes. But it also is the heartbeat of culture.
Absolutely.
I'm not one. I want my city to succeed and provide for all those who live in it. But I also want Joburg to succeed, because I know without Joburg, South Africa is nowhere.
Yeah.
I seriously love Joburg.
I don't want to get political, but what do you think of Helen Ziller? Because you want Joburg to succeed. Helen says, I can make Joburg succeed.
Helen Ziller is known as Cape Town mayor, but she was Western Cape premier for longer. She was only Cape Town mayor for three years. Let me not get bogged down into the personalities of contesting elections. But here's where Cape Town and Joburg is different. A senior ANC leader told me, you'd have to be a fool to fail in Cape Town. And the ANC in 2006 were foolish. We have in this city an entrenched city bureaucracy. You think it's the politicians that run the city? No. It is the hard-working water inspectors, people who are working licensing, in planning, people who actually know the city. And you have people, simply because of the way and the history of the city. It's not the oldest municipality, but in terms of its idea of the mother city, you have entrenched suburbs and bureaucracies and people who know the city, who actually run the city. I have family who've been in the city for close to 40 years. Other municipalities, other metros in South Africa have not had that head start. So when you come into government here, you have 3-4 major highways that have been built already. They simply need to be maintained. You have 3-4 universities right close to the Cape Town metro. You have 2 tertiary hospitals right in the Cape Town metro, which has been built before. It only needs to be maintained. And whoever's going to be in charge of the city, you simply need to maintain it. And that is why that senior ANC person said, you'd have to be a fool to fail in the city of Cape Town.
Yeah. Hey, 10:31. Time for the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. I see more of your messages coming through and WhatsApps. We'll get to that after the headlines as we continue our conversation with Lester Kiewit, who is on our Hanging Out feature this morning. Number is 072-702-1702 for WhatsApps to call, 011-883-0702.
Hanging Out with Clement
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
23 minutes before 11 o'clock. We are hanging out with Lester Kiewit, who is a broadcaster, host Good Morning Cape Town on our sister station Cape Talk. But I mean, this man has been a journalist for so long. Having been in print, you may remember him from ENCA as a parliamentary reporter for so many years, over 10 years. Has been on Eyewitness News and, of course, now hosting his own show on Cape Talk. I've got your calls coming through on 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. Let's go to, is it Douglas who's calling us from Cape Town? Good morning, Doc.
Hey.
Hey, how are you?
Good morning. Hi, Lester. How are you doing?
Good morning.
Doug here.
Good morning, Cape Town.
Lester broadcasted from our home last year, just before.
Oh!
Yeah. And
part of your feature.
Yes.
I finally got to meet him, same person on the radio as in person. I love the off-air conversations. Very knowledgeable.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fascinating. What happened? I mean, I've always found this feature so fascinating. So what time do they even arrive at your house? Because, I mean, that's the shows from 6 until 9.
They arrived about 4 in the morning, which means I
my goodness,
up 4 in the morning.
You're poor. Oh my goodness.
And
then
what I found interesting after the show, I was so drained by the time 9 o'clock came around. I think you guys do 3 hours a day. It's not 3 hours a day. It feels like much longer.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for saying that, Douglas, because you know how many people, thank you for your call, by the way, Douglas. You know how many people think our job is you rock up, you just speak for 3 hours.
Have you tried speaking for 3 hours non-stop? Firstly.
And you have no song. You can't play a song when the proverbial ish hits the fan. You have to talk.
You can't even rely on the spot breaks because you're doing live reads. You're reading stuff. So, look.
And the work begins before you start talking. In fact, that's where most of the work is.
When you stood in for Bongani last week, what time do you get up?
So I get up at like 3:30.
Same.
But I've already done most of the work the previous night. So I've already prepared for my interviews. Wake up at 3:30 and then I just read the papers and I start thinking about...
Look, what this job and what this time does allow me. So I give myself 4:30 in the morning. That's when I arrive here.
Yeah.
Till 3 o'clock in the afternoon to do my work day, and this is the show. Sometimes I have other projects. Sometimes people are asking me to be part of meetings, etc. I give myself to 3 o'clock in the afternoon because I want to be present in the afternoon run. My wife is also in the industry, so we have an equitable share of the labor when it comes to the domesticity as well. No, we don't. Simply because the world is gendered, and and I'd like to say equitable share, but no, the responsibility, the unfair responsibility, often does fall on mothers. So my wife takes care of the kids in the morning, drops them at school, and I have the privilege to be done generally with all appointments from 3 o'clock, pick up from school run, homework, library, extramural. And then once all that is settled, 6 and 9, I'm then reading, scanning, planning for tomorrow.
Okay, I see. So, how do you, because you do give opinions on the show. In fact, you've done this shift, this 9 to 12 slot before. How do you deal with people who interact with the opinions that you give on air? Because I find that sometimes people don't understand that actually part of my job is to have an opinion, whether you're going to like it or not.
Clement, the listeners of Cape Talk and 702, they don't believe us when we say it is within our contract that says... So when I fill out forms of what's your occupation, I'm a journalist. But on air, I'm a broadcaster. And a broadcaster whose job description is to talk about current affairs or social issues, interview credible people, formulate and deliver an opinion, and with the principle of talkback radio, deliver that opinion. Do you know what happens? Because it agitates an opinion in you, the listener, to share your opinion. And you know what? Your opinion's going to agitate another person's opinion. And then you know what happens? We get South Africa talking. So if I'm just going to... And this is the news. This is the facts. What now? We need to get talking again in South Africa. Wasn't that the original ethos of 702? When it started getting pre-1994 South Africa talking. And yes, I don't have to be balanced. And this is generally my thoughts on news and talk and commentary. I don't have to be balanced. I have to be fair. I have to offer you a platform. I don't have to give you 50-50 time. I don't have to give the attacker and the victim 50-50 time, because who's more important there? It's the victim. But I have to be fair in my representation on the other side. And that's how I generally see this project that we have in Cape Talk and 702 of Talkback, Current Affairs, South African Radio.
And that's what's made our stations what they are, because of that. I mean, the people they hire, they actually do want people who can who are brave enough, I must say, to formulate an opinion and be able to agitate. I do find, but I think I think our listeners get it. A lot of them do get it, but there are some who find it weird when you hold an opinion.
I get it. I get it that people have, not just in South Africa, but around the world, people have lost trust in institutions. Political institutions, judicial institutions, parliamentary institutions, banking institutions, health institutions, media institutions. And here's why. Over the last 10, 15, can stretch about 20 years, we've had the ultra-rich elite, I'm talking about billionaires here, the corporate class, getting richer. Whereas working families in South Africa and around the world, working middle-class families have not seen the supposed boom in the economy. And if we zero it down to media, and particularly commercial media, which we can't shy away from, we represent those corporate entities because we are part, and let's be honest about that. We are part of that. So people have lost trust in institutions, not necessarily you, Clement, or me, Lester, but for what we and broader media represents, because we are part of institutions. And we need to do something to bring community trust back. And the way I have thought about it is when we take shows to people's homes, but not just homes, coffee shops, storefronts, mom and pop shops, because we need to show people, I am listening to your story. I actually want to bring radio back to hyperlocal, with greatest respect to my general colleagues in national media, which is largely centered on Johannesburg. If you want a national conversation, again, this is my mass media theory and philosophy. If you want to listen to national politics all the time, you will find it. But if you also want to find out what's happening in your road, in your street, but I actually also want to know what's happening in that road and that street, then I want to be there, because that is not only informing the local public, but it's also telling people right down that I'm listening to your story.
And your story matters.
Yeah.
14 minutes before 11 o'clock, we'll come back with some more songs. I want us to play at least two more before we wrap up. A lot of people are happy with your song selection, so they're asking me to play more of the songs that you have selected for us. So when we come back, we'll hear from Bill, play a song by Bill, I Don't Know, Bill with us. And then I'll go to some of the WhatsApps that have come through on 072-702-1702, 14 before 11.
Hanging out with Clement
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
10 minutes before 11 o'clock. Here's Bill with us. I Don't Know. Why is this special for you, Lester?
This is a song in which I believe has beautiful lyrics. So that's why I absolutely love it.
Okay.
Or I just don't know.
Let's hear the lyrics.
Sometime I just don't know. I just don't know. I just don't know. I just don't know. I just don't know.
Oh, it's a beautiful song. You can tell that you're a very musical person.
I enjoy music.
The music you select has depth. Like, do you listen to and I'm not suggesting that other music doesn't have depth, but do you listen to Amapiano, for instance?
No.
Do you listen to house music?
Fresh House Flavor. Late 90s, 2000s. That is that series of Fresh House Flavor. That is that's where what's that song? Summer Days.
Yeah.
That on that Fresh House Flavor, because that reflects when I was a young person, and enjoying life, eating life, as they say. In fact, my favorite time in Cape Town, 1999 to 2007. I know I'm being very specific here. Not that I don't enjoy Cape Town, but 1999 to 2007, towards the end of high school, then started studying, got a job, disposable income. Was the time where Cape Town was a real hub of culture. It was a vibe. You met a lot of cool and interesting people, a lot of small little speakeasy stuff. Plenty of people came to visit here, and it's in that period where I start experiencing Long Street and different people, cats from Guguletu coming to Cape Town, me a cat from Grossybar coming to Long Street. And that's my favorite time in Cape Town, 99 to 2007.
I had dinner last night with a friend who says Long Street is no longer.
It's no longer the place it
Yeah.
used to be. I think there are some security issues.
Yeah.
Like I'm a big guy, so I'm usually not the target. But I wouldn't suggest unless you have a completely curated experience. We're going here, and we're going here, and we're going here.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go beyond.
Maxwell on Twitter says, Clement, wow, Lester in the hot seat. My favorite breakfast show host, knowledgeable and impartial. I can send him anytime to negotiate lobola for me. here's a piece job for you.
I have been asked before.
Really?
I have been asked to be an uncle. Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
That's
I
fascinating.
have a friend who says,
come negotiate for me.
Look, I don't have much operational skill. I don't know law.
Yeah.
I can't fix a car. But if you need me to sweet talk your auntie or your uncle,
Wow.
I'm that guy.
Now you know, guys. Get in touch with us. We'll give you Lester's contacts. There's a Joan is asking, hey Clement, please can you ask Lester what advice he would give to up and coming broadcasters or journalists?
I think it's my general tone of what I'm experiencing at the moment. The world is lacking empathy. If we can bring empathy back to not only just journalism but to all professions, if we sympathy is easy. Oh, I feel sorry for you, but empathy means I'm actually trying to imagine. It's imagination that we need to use. I need to experience. What if I wasn't born male? What if I wasn't born uncertain about my sexual orientation? What if I wasn't born in a body which others think, or a gendered body which others think I don't subscribe to? What if I wasn't? What if I wasn't born with fully able to manipulate my appendages and hands? What if I was born disabled? So I just think that we need to bring empathy in terms of jobs, how you get into the industry. Be the last person in the room. If you're going for an interview, if you're speaking to someone,
Stay behind.
Stay behind and get a conversation going. And it does not help to send as many emails as possible until they literally block you. And I think you need to be a little bit ferocious in trying to get yourself into the industry.
Shake the hands also of those people that are important. What do you still want to do? I would love to read a book written by you. Whether about yourself, a memoir, or about somebody else or something else. But I'd love to read a book.
I would actually like to write a book about places in Cape Town. For example, Mitchell's Plain. Could you call it celebrate? Well, it marks 50 years of existence. I would like to tell a story about Mitchell's Plain. So maybe writing or maybe even some sort of documentary. I would like to tell more stories, a bit more in-depth. So maybe I have been asked before, but I have said I don't have anything in my inkwell at the moment to write down, to offer concentration to, but hopefully I would probably want to tell a written story about Cape Town.
Yeah. And then generally, what else do you still want to do beyond just telling more stories? What do you still want to achieve?
I'm quite conscious of being mid-career. I'm 41 years old, so we're smack
Still
bang
young.
in. Yeah, but I'm looking forward to 15, 20 years time, Clement.
Yeah?
We must look at what's the transition packages. And go sit in some boards.
Yeah.
Non-executive director now.
Yeah.
And look, I'd like to go back. I'd like to go study a little bit more. But I have an 8-year-old and a 3-year-old, and I've told myself and my spouse that I'll wait till the 3-year-old's perhaps in grade R and grade 1, and then I want to go back go back to study. There's not much that I'm thankful for the job that I have, the access that you have to people in power, the proximity to the people who make the very, very important decisions, but also the absolute privilege of being just being like a surfer. Imagine South Africa and 65 million people are like the waves, and you are a surfer, and in the evening you could be in conversation with a minister or the deputy president. The next morning you're going to be lining up outside of a local clinic, and then maybe later I'm going to take a drive and I'll go to the Eastern Cape and I'll spend some time there, or I'll go up to the Northern Cape and go look at solar farms, and then also speak to the people of Daar, for example. That is the absolute privilege of this job. Not the proximity to the people in power, but the privilege of speaking and being in touch with the 65 million people of this country.
Wow. Pumeza, as we wrap up our conversation, says, "Oh, Clement, what a conversation. I've really enjoyed listening to Lester. Great show there, as always." Thank you, Pumeza. And thanks
Clement,
you, Lester Kiewit. This was so much fun. Really, really loved it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your time in Cape Town.
11 o'clock.